Hello. Today I will be returning with the Kutuzov, which is probably one of my most played premium ships in the entire game. It's probably a pretty close game, contest between this ship, the Atago, the Bliskavica or Bliskavica, or however you want to pronounce it. It's probably a pretty close contest between this one and some of my other most top played premiums in the entire game, because this ship is excellent. The meta keeps shifting. There's new ships added, there's different ships added, there's different game modes, there's changes made. You see North looks significantly different these days in the latest patch, and this ship just continues being strong, continues being relevant, and it continues being one of the best captain trainers in the entire game. I've used this ship, I've used it to max out my Khabarovsk captain, I've used it to max out and train my Moskva captain. In fact, I used it to level an entirely new captain for my Chapayev that I could use for competitive games, so that I didn't have to waste the balloons moving over something like a Moskva captain to my Chapayev if we needed it for competitive games. I've used this ship for every single other Soviet ship that I have for training and all of this, and now I'm using it to train a new Leningrad and Gremyashi captain. As I've said, I really want to give the Leningrad a bit more respect than I've given it so far, because I feel like the ship has excellent potential, but for that I need a proper captain, and since I recently got the Gremyashi in a gift box, I also want to give that ship a proper captain. And of course the same captain you use on the Gremy also works especially well on the Leningrad, since they both benefit from the expert marksman last stand concealment expert build. So that's why I'm leveling a new captain. Now the Kutuzov, of course, the reason why it's such a fantastic trainer is because you get away with you not having concealment expert on it, unlike many other cruisers, thanks to the self smoke. The ability to smoke yourself up and still be able to pump out this great amount of damage, this constant non-stop damage. All you really need is Superintendent and the premium smoke, and you got 3 of those smokes, which gives you such a huge amount of concealment that you can use to dish out this constant amount of damage. Of course, the guns on the ship are fantastic. The HE version, all the HE shells, by default, I think they have 12-13% chance of fire. With Demolition Expert, you get it to 16. Whenever I level a captain on the ship, I always go for Demolition Expert fairly soon, because you wanna up that thing up to get more fire chances, more fires, more damage, more XP. Makes it faster to level it. Someone declares their team is useless with 3 minutes played. That's always a promising start. Now, and of course the anti-air on the ship is absolutely fantastic. I've seen people use Hydro. You shouldn't use Hydro on the ship. Yes, it can help you sit still in your smoke and not get torped, but honestly you should be positioning your smokes in such a way to avoid getting torped in the first place. If you need to use Hydroacoustic Surge to survive in the ship, or in general basically just to survive, then I feel you're doing it wrong to begin with. You want to use that defensive AA, because in any games with carriers, having that defensive AA makes you a strict no-fly zone, and it makes you such a potent tool, not just for your friendly ships out on the battlefield, but it also makes you something your own carrier can use. When he fights or baits enemy planes, he can bait them near you, and well, with the 6k in range with the default build, if you have AFT you got 7.2, it makes you such a horrible plane threat that you really should be abusing it. Now of course here I'm showcasing something else. I'm shooting from cover. The range of this ship is also one of the reasons, of course, why it's so strong. This constant fire rate and the range. I don't mind if I'm detected now finally, but in general I try to avoid being detected. I just shoot from behind the cliff, and I just keep constantly harassing. My damage isn't that special yet, 37,000, but it's this constant non-stop damage dealing, which is one of the huge strengths of the ship. Because you see the white line on the minimap, that's the range on this ship. That's not in any way the upgraded range, that's the range of the Kutuzov. And that's of course one of the great benefits of it, and one of the huge strengths it has over the Atago, which I consider a straight competitor with the Kutuzov, or which one is really the best T8 cruiser. Whenever people ask me that, I tend to say Atago because it's more versatile, but there are of course multiple situations where the Kutuzov is in fact superior, especially if there's carriers involved, then Kutuzov is pretty much always superior. And in random battles, it's very hard to determine which one is better and which one is worse. Regardless, constant fire from cover, there's Benson nearby, oh, and they got two battleships, one pushing through the middle gap and one pushing through the back line. So I really need to start smoking up here. I'm gonna see how is this Bismarck doing. He sailed past him. Bismarck sailed past the Budyonny. The Budyonny is trying to turn his guns. I'm not entirely certain what's going on here, but it's time to smoke up now and help him. Okay, that is some confusing stuff. It is the holidays though, and the level of play during these holidays has been pretty abysmal. I mean, it's like constant weekend play is what you experience these days. I mean, just get used to it, not much you can do about it. Now, Turpit's pushing through. And of course, one of the strengths when someone tries to push your smoke like this, something which a lot of people tend to underestimate for some reason, is the utility the torps give you. Now, for some reason, people often save the torps for these very close range YOLO rushes. Now, that can be okay if the guy isn't focused on you, but the issue is if the guy is aiming right at you. Whoa, that was a bit close. The reason, by the way, I'm not holding down mouse 1 here, but I'm launching full volleys, is to not make it that easy for him to track me in the smoke. Now, as I was saying, people often launch these, save these torps for that last moment YOLO, and I don't like to do that. I like to use them as a defensive tool because he used repair. I like to force them to use repair with the guns, and then when the repair is up, that's when I launch the torps, or when it's on cooldown, so then I can get flooding, and now I got fire and flooding on him. You notice that I'm keeping over 3 km distance to him. In fact, I'm willing to leave my smoke just to keep this 3 km buffer between me and him, because if he runs the detection module instead of the concealment module, then he'll have a 3 km proximity spotting range, so he'd be able to spot me very soon. So I extend, even though the smoke was fading, I kind of extend the amount I can stay in cover for as long as possible. And, well, let's wither fairly soon, fairly early. Kind of want to shoot my left side torps. Is it actually worth it? I don't know if he has his heal or not, actually. Honestly, he's ticking down HP so fast. I switched to AP, of course, since it gives me broadside. On battleships you can do a huge, well, any ship you can do a huge amount of damage. Okay, that was pretty useless. I didn't even need to use those torps. It was more of a case, maybe he has his heal up and he'll start recovering a lot of HP and the fights last longer than I actually wanted to last, but it wasn't necessary in the end. Now, of course, there I showed one of the other strengths of this ship, which is the AP. The AP on the ship is fantastic. It loses, of course, some potency at long range because it's so low caliber, but thanks to the railgun characteristics of these guns, they punch fast and hard, means that, well, not only can you citadel cruisers very, very easily, but against battleships, especially if they give you broadside, you can do a lot of heavy damage to them when they give you broadside. Oh, is Scharnhorst pushing? For those wondering what I'm doing, I actually want to turn my right side towards these ships instead of my left side. The reason for this is, well, not only does it open up my firing arcs on the Pensacola, but more importantly, my right hand torpedoes are ready, whereas my left hand are not. You always keep a track on which torpedo cooldown is up and which isn't. You can in fact see my torpedo cooldowns above my guns. That's a setting you can access when you go to settings and you go to controls. You can make the torpedo cooldown show up on your hotbar, like you see at the bottom of my screen, right above my gun reload. You can see my torpedo reload. That's a setting you can. That's not a mod or anything. That's just a setting you can access in options, and that's a setting I highly recommend using because, as you can see, my left-hand torpedoes still have 25 seconds left to reload, but my right-hand torpedoes are already ready, which is of course what I want to use in this case. They're both moving slow, so I aim mostly for the Scharnhorst since I think he's the one who's going to be pushing up. The Dunkirk apparently already decides to reverse, and I could probably be using AP on the Dunkirk here, or well, I could have earlier, but the Dunkirk is very thinly armored and I feel like it burns so easily and it takes so much HE damage that I don't bother. The Scharnhorst is a different case though, especially with how much broadside he's giving. that's definitely instantly switching to AP, and looks like he's gonna eat the jackpot with my torps. Now I don't aim at the waterline, as you can see. I aim just between the superstructure and the bottom of the hull, right at the top layer of his broadside. And well, you can see the damage I do with this AP. That's his torps. I'm already moving out of them. My smoke is fading. That's of course the other reason why I was moving. You always want to keep a timer on your smoke, or keep an eye out for how long your smoke will last. I recommend timing your smokes based on the game timer in the top right corner. Don't base it on your smoke cooldown at the bottom, because if you do it, in that case where I was just now, when it was my last smoke, I would have had no idea when it was ending if I hadn't based it on my top right timer. So for new players, checking how long your smoke will last based on how long you have left on the next smoke reload, that's a pretty nifty way of doing it, and a pretty handy way. But when you get more experienced, you should use the game timer for it, because as I said, when you get to the last smoke, you no longer have that handy timer helping you. Looks like some battleship is trying to team kill me or something. I don't know what he wants. Probably attention starved or whatever, just ignoring it. Nuremberg, I switched to AP, mostly because this thing has no armor, huge citadel, very squishy. One of the weakest T6 ships in my opinion, the Nuremberg, so I throw a few AP volleys his way, because, well, you never know. One of the guys, the Scharnhorst I just killed, greets me, so I just say hello to him. Tirpitz shows up, so I switch to HE, of course. This is second Tirpitz, I think. Yeah, second Tirpitz I fought this game. You just go instantly in with the constant HE spam. Now you might notice once again there's the terrain in front of me, so I'm moving towards the terrain while shooting this guy. As soon as it looks like his guns are turning my way, I accelerate. Yeah, he's turning to shoot me, so I accelerate to get behind this cliff. And as I'm gliding behind the cliff, I become undetected. I'm still capping, of course, managed to cap it fully, and I slow down. Once I'm in cover, I slow down. Now, if you're wondering why I'm accelerating and stopping so quickly as I am in this ship, it's of course because I run the acceleration mod. I do not run the rudder shift mod on Kutuzov. I've been running the acceleration mod for, well, ever since I bought it pretty much. I decided that I like the acceleration mod more than I like the rudder shift mod. Now, as soon as his guns turn away from me, I have no issues reversing out of cover and being detected again, because his guns are aimed the wrong way. With battleships, you should always keep an eye out where the guns are aimed. You can always base your decision making on that. Okay, you see he's turning towards me again, so now it's time to accelerate and get back into cover again. So the reason, of course, for this quick being able to change these courses and this quickly is, of course, the acceleration mod, which is this is one of the few. This might in fact be the only cruiser I run the acceleration mod on. I'm not entirely certain. It's possible, but there are not many of them that I like it on. But the Kutuzov is definitely one where I've seen very nice usage of it, or nice possibilities for it in general. Managed to kill off the last Bismarck, or sorry, Tirpitz, with an arsonist, and the game ends. And well, of course, I completed the Happy Holidays, I think. Was that, I think, the quest that I completed? Yeah, that one gives 1 million, I think. Hence why I got 1.84 million. Usually I'd only gotten 844k or 845k credits. But that's, of course, isn't bad either, because, well, premium ship gives you a lot of money. And 239k damage, 4 torpedoes, which is pretty good. I was a bit annoyed that the game ended, since I wanted to go hunt the Benson and get my Kraken, but not much you can do. Base XP 2.8k, which is always nice. Pretty comfortable carry in this game. And detailed report wise, 92k fire and flooding damage, and wrist about 100k, 108k torpedo damage, and about 108k gun damage and 40k torpedo damage. Now, the torpedo damage was mostly there to, well, it was pretty useful against the Scharnhorst, but usually I tend to use torpedoes just for the flooding more than the actual damage. The times I use it for actual damage is the cases like the Scharnhorst, where someone actually rushes into me. And, well, I might as well go over the Captain perks while I'm at it. Let's move on to that right now. Right. Starting off, modules, not much to talk about, there's nothing you can change since it's a premium. Consumable wise, you should be running Smoke Generator 2, aka the premium smoke, and the premium repair. It's a goddamn premium ship, you can afford to run the premium repair. It's worth it, it's worth the investment. Module wise or upgrade wise, main armaments 1, AA guns mod 2. On fast firing cruisers you always want AA range. Steering gears, because that's the one thing I found breaking on this much with the Atago. The Kutuzov likes to lose the steering gear quite often, so that has been something I've ran for a long time. Propulsion mod, as I said, not rudder shift. I think the 6.5 second rudder shift is enough to avoid shells, so I prefer the propulsion mod for that quick accelerate stop action, and concealment, of course, to get that decent concealment. Now the captain I'm running on this and that I run in this game is completely retarded, because as I said, I am training my Leningrad and Gremiashi captain, which means I have 3 tier 2 perks right now, and like it just looks retarded. Well, if we look at our Chapayev captain, this is the Kutuzov competitive captain that I would use, and I think, yeah, basic survivability, expert marksman, superintendent, advanced firing training, concealment expert, and vigilance. This is a competitive both Chapayev and Kutuzov captain. You want that AFT to get that AA range to 7.2 km, and that's of course the same on the Kutuzov as it is on the Chapayev. So this is the competitive Chapayev Kutuzov captain that I use for clan wars, team battles. It's exactly the same captain I also use on the Moskva, as you guys have seen. Well, you've seen my build that I changed to fairly recently, where I gave up Demolition Expert for the AFT, since I consider it so very strong on Russian ships. So very much the same thing here, but when it comes to random battles for leveling, I would take Demolition Expert over AFT. So basic survivability, expert marksman, superintendent, demolition expert, and then concealment expert when you can afford it, and of course vigilance. That would be a pure Kutuzov captain, but that's only for random battles. For anything else, I feel AFT is better than the demolition expert, because the huge AA bubble that you create is so goddamn strong on the Kutuzov, and when you run the AA range mode as well, you get that 7.2 km no fly zone and popping defensive AA. Of course, you can even shoot down T10 planes, so extremely strong at killing planes, which is of course why I recommend the AFT for anything competitive when it comes to the Kutuzov. In fact, yeah, you're looking at the ship XP, I got way over 1 million ship XP on this thing, which isn't surprising. But Demolition Expert, you get 16% is the fire chance you get with Demo Expert, which is of course why I recommend that when you're leveling it or grinding a new captain for some other ship. You can later respec it to whatever you need, or, well, most ships, for the Khabarovsk for example, using Demo Expert was pretty good in general. Actually, is this the most I have on any ship? It's probably more than I even have on the Atago. Wait a minute, where's my Atago? Of course I'm blind when I look at my wheel. There we go, Atago. Yeah, I actually don't even have 1 million on my Atago yet, so the Kutuzov is actually probably one of my most played ships in the game, and that's because it's such a fantastic captain trainer and it's such a great ship in general that it will pretty much always have my recommendation. Anyway, that was my Kutuzov commentary. I hope you guys enjoyed it.